Right, why did I go into teaching? It's a good question and something I've not made a video about, so I thought I would. Right, okay. I originally went into teaching. I did a PGCE in 1998. Yeah, you heard that right, 1998. But why? Well, the thing is, I left school when I was 16. Grades weren't that great at school, to be honest. I I did spend 2 weeks in the sixth form. It was actually an extended sixth form rather than 2 years. It was going to be 3 years for those that didn't get the grades. But I'd already lined up, and I hadn't told them this, but I'd already lined up a City and Guilds electronic servicing course at the local technical college. So, but it started 2 weeks after the sixth form did. So I thought I'd give it sixth form a go, but really, I wasn't planning to stay. I don't actually know if I can't remember what I told them. Whether I just stopped turning up. It's a long time ago. Yeah, so I did electronic servicing, and then after that, I suppose you call it an apprenticeship. It was hands-on work. It was done in conjunction with the local council in the city, nearest city to where I lived, and it was basically, it's called an EITB, Engineering Industry Training Board. It doesn't exist anymore now. It's called something different. But we did all sorts: welding, electrical maintenance. We actually got to work on council properties. So it was, although it was at a training centre, we used to get out and about. And they used to let you do minor maintenance work. So it was great. So yeah, I learned to weld, learned to use milling machines, turn metal, maintain electrical systems, motors, did a lot really. Welding, did I mention welding? So it's 1:17 in the afternoon. I'm a bit tired now. I've been making videos all morning because I don't get a chance to make them very often. But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, but why? Going back to why I went into education. Well, I could see that I hadn't done too well at school. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not sure school really suited me. I mean, a lot of people say that. I tried to be good. I wasn't really a troublemaker, but I seemed to get detentions quite often for various things. Yeah, so I left. Great, all right. Somewhere. I mean, I was good at RE. I think RE was religious education was the best grade I came out with. Strange, maths. I could do maths. I could be top of the class some years and bottom other years. It depended on what teacher I had and how motivated I was, and whether the teacher was keeping an eye on me, because I'd probably be staring out the window thinking of something else. Anyhow, so I went into education because I wanted to change things. That's what I had in my head. I thought, right, the system's not perfect. Let's change it. Now, the first staff room I ever went into, I remember that it was when I was on PGCE and I visited a few weeks at university, then went off to a placement. So probably October 1998. First teacher I met, she looked me in the eye and said, "If you've got any sense, you'll turn back round and forget this teaching idea and never come back again." I thought, thanks, great. Okay, but I'm a bit stubborn sometimes, so I thought, no, I'm staying. So yeah, I started learn to teach. It was interesting because it was quite especially the second placement was quite a challenging school. I was teaching a bit of business studies. Well, the first placement I was teaching business and IT. Second, I was teaching because they were late to what I'd done on the degree. The second, I was doing business and design technology. there wasn't enough business to do, and plus doing the design technology, I got to teach lower key stages, key stage 3, rather than just key stage 4. The second placement didn't have a sixth form, the first one did. So there was just key stage 3 and 4 in the second placement. So I got to teach design tech, and it was and they thought, well, that's a good second subject to fill in the timetable, because there's not enough business to teach. And it was interesting because it was great. They did motor vehicle studies, and I'd spent a lot of my teenage years taking engines apart, so this is brilliant. And yeah, I pretty much, I did teach a bit of business and ICT when I qualified, but for a year or so, but I left and just did design technology, because it's practical, it's creative, it's great. It's looking at the world thinking, yeah, it's like it's now, but how can it be? It's brilliant. You can redesign the world. Now, I was a bit disillusioned with it. Came out of education, went into aerospace via doing contracting for 6 months, which was in product development. Then I went into it for a big aerospace company, Europe's biggest. It was a multinational. It's now called BAE Systems Defence and Space, but it's called Astrium when I was there. And it was, and reliability analysis of communications satellites, geostationary satellites, the ones that they launch up from French Guiana. Well, they launch from other places, but that's where they launched these particular ones from, into geostationary orbit, 36,000 kilometers from the Earth, and they did stuff. It was stuff for NATO. Let's just say that. It was interesting. I got made redundant, or took voluntary redundancy, and I a few years later, and went back into teaching. But I think that's pretty much in a nutshell. Going back to why I went into teaching, because I wanted to change things, but it's blooming frustrating sometimes, because the education system, I did a TEDx talk in 2023, and one of the things I mentioned was how much better it is that we have education rather than the alternative. The alternative being you're living in some poor country, and if you're a kid, you're ended up in sort of child slavery, working from a very young age, child marriage. You're not getting a chance to catch up and equalise, if you like, with the rest of the world that has got schools. You may not like it, but it's somewhere to go. It's somewhere safe. Hopefully you learn something. And then if you absolutely hate it, you leave, and you can read and write, you can get on, you can do something, which is better than the alternative. But schools, as we know, they're not perfect. I often see people on YouTube talking about, school's bad, they were designed to create workers for the Industrial Revolution. Maybe not. That's another discussion. Possibly true, but going back to what I was saying, it's all right. Let's assume they're true. Let's go back to before school. I think formal schooling started about 1880 in the UK, if I remember rightly. So before then, we were used to send kids up chimneys to sweep. Chimney sweeps. Use the smallest one possible, they'll fit. Would you really want your kids doing that? So these people going, it's bad. Right, think of the alternatives. Child labour. I mean, there is the argument that some kids aren't really suited to school as it is at the moment, and we should tailor it more to their individual interests. So alongside learning useful stuff like English and maths, maybe if they're particularly passionate about something, I don't know, dance, for instance, they want to be a dancer and that's all they want to do, maybe sort of being more flexible in schools to accommodate that. I mean, maybe your school, if you're a teacher or a student, maybe it is, let me know. Schools not changed. The world's changing. It's changing fast. With AI and all the rest of it, a basic education I think is useful, and basic building blocks to equip you to adapt. That's important. Now, some things schools don't teach, and I've heard this from business leaders. They don't teach you about business or finance, and that's true. I've actually had a year 10 student say this to me a couple of years ago. She said, "Why don't we?" To quote her, she said, "Why don't we learn anything useful at school, like how to get a mortgage or open a bank account?" And I think there are some initiatives to do that, but it's a fair point. And I've actually opened a YouTube channel which I haven't actually posted anything to yet that was going to address this, because otherwise, about a year ago, I was helping. I knew someone. She's 29. She's got a child, but she had a problem with her pay. The employer messing up, but they were offering her this because a large organisation, worked for a large public sector organisation. They offered this thing. They had this facility where they could lend her money before she got her wages. But I looked at it and I said, "You do realise it's 29% APR?" And she went, "What's that?" Well, that is one problem with schools. Are they I mean, if you do business studies, fair enough, you might learn that, but everyone should know what APR is. It's annual percentage rate. It's how much interest you're going to pay. So if you're borrowing £100 and paying 29% APR, after a year, if you hadn't paid anything off, it's like you owe £129, and then the year after that it compounds. What that means is that 129, if you hadn't paid anything off, it's 29% on top. It's 129 with 29% added the next year and the next year and next year. I mean, you're paying it off, but are you paying it off quick enough? Things like that, APR, or basic business, or life. Yes, some schools have, there's life and living skills. That is a course some offer. I don't know it really address. I mean, yeah, I've literally taught this. Doesn't really address some of the things I think we need to know. I think what schools need to be more adaptive. I don't know what on earth's going to happen in the happening now. Schools, you've so the exam boards, they here's an example. Computing, let's think, was it computer? ICT. It's all, I'm just thinking what that course was. There's a syllabus for a course, and part of it is the students do a project. Now the project was a programming project. It could be done in Python, or it could be done in other languages. It could be a graphical language like Scratch. It was a fairly low level course, but one of the requirements was to make this project. Now this project can be made, because I tried it and it works. You could literally prompt AI to make the project and it knock it out in 30 seconds. There's your project. Now, to be fair to the exam board, the requirements are that students are supervised at all times when they're making this. They can't go home and do it, for good reason, because the more tech savvy of them will will use something like ChatGPT and a IDE, which is Integrated Development Environment, to come up to produce, check, edit code, etc. And they won't actually learn. Well, I say that I have been actually using it. I was teaching some Python, and I have used AI as well. I've told because there's no point pretending to the students it doesn't exist and you can't do it. You can put into AI, I want it to produce this, or I want it to do that. It'll come up some code, then you check it, but then you've got the code, and you can then look at it, start to learn how it works. But it's important, like I say, that the students are supervised, because they already know they could do their homework on ChatGPT. That's another thing with schools. One admitted it to me. He said, "Yeah, I do it on ChatGPT." He wasn't one of my students, I should add. I was taking him for some extra programming. He wanted to do computer programming. It's a bit of call it a programming club. Yeah. So schools, going off a bit of a tangent as usual. I'm not scripting, so I'm just talking. Right, so let's just summarise this. Schools, much better than not having a school. I don't care what these influencers on YouTube that have made like millions of quid, open loads of businesses, and they go, rubbish school, yeah, boo. Right, you got to look at it. What was it like before we had schools in the UK or anywhere else? Yeah, you're sending kids up chimneys, extreme poverty, no chance to improve your life. So, the basic idea of schools, I think, are good. But things are moving fast. I'm sure schools will get there, but it's an interesting time at the moment. Teachers are using ChatGPT. I mean, I use it for certain things. And other ones have said they do it. In fact, you can basically tell what sort of lesson you want and get you to produce it, and you can say, I want it to be an outstanding lesson, and give me some questions to ask the students. It's mind blowing what you can do with AI. I mean, you have to have some background knowledge as well. You need to understand whether it's telling you nonsense, especially if it's a technical subject, because it often gets things wrong because it doesn't understand. It's not human. It's the way it works, as I understand, is it tries to, it logically, if you like, thinks what word will come after that one in response to the question. It doesn't know what it's actually writing, and then sometimes it gets things wrong because it's been trained on data which may be incorrect. It may be using data off the internet, which is wrong. Fake news, guys. Yeah, so schools, I sometimes think I could speak for hours on this. I came into education to try and make a difference, but I also, being coming from a slightly radical family where we'd not always follow the rules, wanted to change things. And I think that's actually why I did the TEDx talk, because I could see, well, I did it because I could see there was millions of kids, I think it's 263 million if I remember rightly, that UNESCO in their report in 2018 identified as not having even a school to go to. I thought, I've got an idea that could help with this, which will help with the United Nations development goals, known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG 4, which means they want to provide quality education for all, not just those lucky enough to attend a school. That includes. So that was a way that I could make a difference to education. There's a lot of things I don't agree with. The school I'm at the moment, I blooming love it, because I'm working. Well, I run a business, but I'm also working part time at school, and I love it because it's kids that they're labelled as having social, emotional, and mental health issues. SEMH it's called. They just don't. I think they're just didn't get on in mainstream school, a lot of them, and I can understand why. And I've seen this. I've seen this when for instance, I did some supply teaching a couple of years ago. And I could see it. Class of 30. You could see that some kids aren't really coping very well in that class, and you think, oh, they must have a statement. There must be some support in place. Well, there's no TA, teaching assistant. Maybe that, I don't know whether they just weren't there that day, but there was no one there. I looked on the system because I've been there long term, and I said I can't teach unless you give me access to the system to know if there's any issues with the kids. I mean, for instance, you need to know sort of if they've, for instance, got autism or ADHD or a medical issue, because if they suddenly collapse and you're thinking, if you don't know what to do, you need to know these things. So I thought, well, yeah, the girl over there, she's clearly not really coping with just being in a big class. Right, I'll have a look on the system, see if there's anything we can find so we can support her better. Or I don't know how, particularly in this great big classroom with all these kids, but we'll see what I can do to help. Nothing. She wasn't even. There was nothing. She hadn't been identified as having anything, but there clearly was. The ones at school I'm at the moment, I suppose, are the lucky ones, because they've been put into. Some of the kids see it as a special school. Well, it is a special school, but in a good way, because they're getting individual. Well, not individual, but I think the biggest class I've got, theoretically, has got 9 kids in it, but they don't always turn up all the time, and that's okay at this school because of their needs. They're not punished, as far as I'm aware, all the parents. There's various reasons why they're at that school. So sometimes you only get like 5 students. You've had 2. I had 1 the other day. That was unusual. And also a teaching assistant. That was a bit strange when they got actually 1, but maybe typically sort of 5. Now, that's better. You can get to know the students properly. They can talk to you. You can understand them. You can adapt the work to suit the students. And it's so much better than just, if you're in like a busy classroom, I know teachers get a lot of stick, but you're thinking at like 100 miles a minute, having to make split decisions. It's like not a war zone. I'd be putting it, but it's best sort of supply. Go into a classroom, and yeah, you're having to think on your feet all the time, and you're having to try and always read people, because sometimes you haven't seen the kids before, and it's, are they being genuine? I mean, it's better if you obviously been there a while and you know the kids, but even so, you're often thinking as you're talking. There's a lot. You're scanning the room. Yeah, are they getting it? Are they paying? Just so much, and it's quite hard with 30 kids. I'll admit that it's easier with 5, a lot easier. But you can give them attention, and at the place I'm at the moment, they obviously need. They have additional needs, and they need more attention. I hope I'm using the right terminology here, but you get what I mean. And I think that's good. I do practicals. I loved it. Teaching computers. What's inside the computer? Oh, here, we could talk about the ROM and the RAM and the SSD drive and all the rest of it, but what better than if you've got a small class, bring in a computer with the back of it. Right, here we go. And we could talk about the components. Not only talk about the components, they got actually interested in then about other bit of parts that were on the motherboard, which is the main board that the components are attached to, such as, what's that? That's a capacitor. In fact, it's an electrolytic capacitor. And then you can explain about that. That's the power supply, and that is dropping the voltage down. I mean, I do tend to go off on tangents quite a lot, and I have to watch that I suddenly don't turn it into an electrical or electronic lesson. But it's just better. The future of education. I've heard that they're saying teachers and teaching assistants will be replaced. Now, I don't know. It's going to change, and it needs to change. Personalised learning. I was listening to a guy off YouTube. I forget who. He was like a real expert in AI, and he was talking about his personalised learning, where it's basically an AI system, and it's not just monitoring your answers to questions, it's monitoring your face to sort of read your expressions to work out whether you're understanding or not. Because you might say, yeah, I understand, but it can read your facial expressions and then tailor the work. It's a bit like a personalised teaching assistant, I suppose, a good teaching assistant. So things like that come in, and that would be brilliant, because, you know, individualised, personalised learning. I'm not saying replace teachers. I'm not saying replace teaching assistants. God, teaching assistants will kill me if I say that. But yeah, a personalised learning where we can analyse and try different strategies through AI. I think that's a positive. There's a lot of fear about AI, but if you can tailor, I was just thinking, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. There was a theory. It was all the rage back in around year 2000 about personalised learning styles. I forget the guy's name. It was a professor in America that wrote it. I won't remember it in a minute. And I saw a few years ago some teachers online like going, "Oh, that's old hat," blah blah blah. But as having personalised learning using AI in a system, it's a form of that. We're not going back to looking at the theory that are you mainly sort of a kinesthetic learner or visual or the rest of it. It's analysing your face, it's looking at your responses, it's tailoring the work in a way that you understand. Because blimey heck, I'm just thinking of another school I was at a couple of years ago, and this one student, he just wasn't getting it, but he loved what he wanted on his phone. He'd like watching YouTube videos he wasn't supposed to, or time not to. But I thought, this school, this particular one, had a ban on YouTube, and I thought, if I could get on YouTube, I could find an example of, because I was teaching design tech at the time, of the subject, put it on. I think you would learn it so much better than trying to do this work that had been set. I had said it, but I wanted to change it, but I couldn't actually get onto YouTube. It was, IT policies in schools are like madly restrictive. I say that. I realised the other day that the laptop I'm using at the school I'm at the moment, I can get into the BIOS settings. There's no password on it, and it was originally a student laptop. But I digress. I hope the students don't watch this. I saw one mention. I was only checking because I had this idea about teaching them about BIOS by showing them it, but then I thought better of it. God, I hope they don't watch this. Hopefully it's just my laptop that isn't particularly secure. But generally they outsource to these companies in schools, the IT management, and they're quite restrictive. I'm always wanting to think of something. I'm always looking for some resource to help me teach. This is not allowed. The school IT system won't allow it you, and you think, why ever not? What was it the other day I was looking at? It was something. It wasn't even video. It was something to do with sound effects, or some website. I couldn't see anything wrong with it whatsoever. And I thought, I'll add this to my PowerPoint. I'll have a bit of a make it a bit more interesting. No, you're not allowed. Yeah, but that's schools. I can't. I mean, they have to be strict because of safeguarding and the rest of it. But sometimes I just like roll my eyes at some of the things. things that seem to be blocked, and you have absolutely no idea why, and you can't see any logic for it. Whereas other things, fortunately, ChatGPT isn't blocked, and I was using it the other day with students. It's a BTEC computer lesson, and the topic was about designing a website. So we were going to look at the copyright issues around being a web designer. So what better way? The instructions I gave them on the PowerPoint was I gave them a prompt script, type this into ChatGPT. It was I'm trying to think how I worded it now. It was that was it. It was explaining the legislation, the UK legislation, the main one law that covers copyright. Now, once they'd done that, I said put the second prompt in. So the second prompt was now explain the law to a 15-year-old, because they were 14 and 15-year-olds in a class, and ChatGPT explained it to them at a level they would understand. It's brilliant. Love IT. Love AI. IT. It's kind of related. So technology is brilliant. I'm going to finish this off by saying one last thing. There's so much fear on YouTube going, AI, oh no, we're going to lose our jobs. They said that about, I'm 54, they said that about the internet back in the 90s. It was like, well, they probably did. I was doing better things. I was going out. I was, come on, I was in my 20s, right? But I bet they were saying the same thing about the internet. It's going to take all our jobs. Well, yeah, I suppose if you fix mechanical typewriters, sorry, mate, it's game over. But if you were that guy fixing the mechanical typewriters and you were good with your hands, you had mechanical skills, you could probably have adopted to PC repair. What I'm saying is, new opportunities come. It's an ever-changing world, and that is exciting. You either fear it or you find it exciting. And schools will change for the better, I think. We're lucky that we have schools in the West. That's a stupid thing to say, because in the East, in the developed world, that's a better way of putting it. And what we need to do now is make sure that everyone gets an education, whether you're in a remote location with no schools, whether you're a displaced refugee, everywhere. And that was what my TEDx talk was about. I've been rambling. I can't even remember what I started this video. I'm going to have some lunch. Schools, I think I was talking about. Anyhow, this is Craig. I hope you found it interesting. How long have I been on for? 33 minutes. Wow. Okay. Yeah. See you soon. Bye.